The ally of Japan, Nazi Germany. The three principal partners in Axis alliance were Germany, Italy, and Japan. These three countries recognized German and Italian dominance in continental Europe, as well as the Japanese dominance over East Asia. Five other European states joined the Axis alliance during the World War II. America warned Japan to stop war further, and Japan denied multiple times. For that, Japan was being nuked by America. The two atomic bombs dropped on Japan in 1945 killed and maimed hundreds of thousands of people, and their effects are still being felt today. Many of survivors would face leukemia, cancer, and other terrible side effects from the radiations. The uranium bomb detonated over Hiroshima on 6 August 1945 had an explosives yield equal to 15,000 tons of TNT. It razed and burned over 70% of all buildings and caused an estimated 140 deaths by the end of 1945. Along with increased rates of cancer and chronic disease among the survivors. A slightly large plutonium bomb exploded over Nagasaki 3 days later, leveled 6.7 square kilometers of the city and killed 74,000 people by the end of 1945. Ground temperature reached 4,000 centigrade and the radioactive rain poured down. The reason we know this that the extent of damage in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945 made it nearly impossible to provide aid. In Hiroshima, 90% of physicians and nurses were killed or injured. 42 of 45 hospitals were rendered non-functional, and 70% of victims and combined injuries, including in most cases, severe burns. All the dedicated burn beds around the world would be so inefficient to care of the survivors of single nuclear bomb on a city. In Hiroshima and Nagasaki, most victims died without any care to ease their suffering. Some of those who entered the cities after the bombings to provide assistance also died from the radiations. Let's talk about the comeback of the Japan. After the second atomic bomb was dropped, Japan surrendered and left a large mess to clean up throughout the Pacific theater. To help aid in the process, the United States set up a form of a government in Hiroshima to help rebuild the city and give jobs to the people who were struggling to find work. Japan's economic growth after 1940s was based on unprecedented expansions of industrial production and development of enormous domestic market, as well as on aggressive export policies. Japan has developed highly diversified manufacturing and service economy and is one of the world's largest producer of motor vehicles, steel and high technology manufacturing goods. The service sector has come to dominate the economy in terms of its overall proportion of the gross domestic product and of employment. The Japanese economy lay utterly devastated after World War II, 1945. The immediate post-war period was one of the hard struggle to achieve reconstruction and stability under the Allied occupation forces. Land and labor reforms were carried out, and the plan for creating a self-sustaining economy was made by American banker Joseph Dodge. The outbreak of Korean War in 1950 created a huge demand for Japanese goods that laid the foundation for a long period of extraordinary economic activity. While investment in plants and equipment was spurred by an expanding domestic market, Japan also began pursuing strong export policies. Growing demand overseas for Japanese goods led to annual trade surpluses, which became perennial by late 1960s. By the early 1970s, Japan's rapid rate of economic growth had begun to slacken. As the price of imported petroleum soared, labor costs increased, the value of national currency, the yen, rose against foreign currencies, and overall global demand for Japanese goods weakened. Distortion resulting from the earlier quick pace of growth had begun to show. Japan's standard of living had not increased as rapidly as had the overall economy up to that point, in large part because of the high percentage of capital reinvestment in those years, but also Japan was under increasing pressure from its trading partner to allow the yen to appreciate even more in value and to liberalize strong import restrictions that had been enacted to protect Japan's domestic market. Giant companies exist in Japan: Toyota Vehicles, Nippon Telegraph and Telephone, Sony, Hitachi, Honda, Mitsubishi UFG Financial Group, Japan's Post Holding, Nissan, Panasonic. The animation industry in Japan generated a revenue of approximately 1.31 trillion Japanese yen via overseas sales in 2021, merchandising accounting for the largest share domestically, reaching a value of more than 663 billion yen during that year. The economy of Japan is highly developed social market economy, often referred to as an East Asian model. It is the fourth largest economy in the world by nominal GDP, and also the fourth largest economy by purchasing power parity, PPP. Japan is now the most developed country exist in the world. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Goodbye.